The fog wove its way through the London streets, as it always had, heavy and damp, turning the air into a blinding blur. Here and there street lamps tried their best to furnish some light for those who were out, but their efforts were feeble at best. It was only 7 o'clock in the evening, but as the autumn sun had already set, it might as well have been midnight. Most people were home at the dinner table, though there were a few still out and about. They moved cautiously through the grey darkness, blind to what might lie in their path, including other fellow pedestrians. As the lamps were only now being lit on some corners, there was even less guidance for their path. Lanterns hung on passing hansoms and wagons at least warned people of their coming and served to differentiate between road and walk. Andy Packer made his way through as he did nearly every night at this time, sometimes including Sundays, his long, slender, hollow bronze staff with its glowing taper in one hand and a heavy wooden stool in the other as he walked from street lamp to street lamp. For he was a lamplighter, and it was his duty to light each of the street lamps along his route. He was small, and even his eldest son, who was 15, was taller than he, and at each lamppost he set down his stool, stepped upon it, reached as high as he could with his staff, opened the valve, and lit the gas. Once the lamp burned its soft amber glow, he stepped down, took up the stool, and went on to his next lamppost. He had a lantern to light his own way, and sometimes it was difficult to juggle the three heavy things, but long usage had made it second nature. Even so, the work was tedious, and he stopped a moment just outside an alley and sat down upon the stool for a brief rest. This wasn't the safest part of town by any means. It was just west of Whitechapel, where all that nasty business was a few years back. The number of dives and brothels far outnumbered the more respectable shops. Several of those whom he saw going through the darkness were headed into bars and gambling hells and other such places, the kind which Andy's vicar, old Dr. Kirkwood, called dens of iniquity. Andy agreed with Ham and was always uncomfortable along this section of his route, though he wasn't above having a nip or two now and then. But this was not only the quarter assigned to him, but his own little house wasn't far. Andy was a good man, and raised his brood of 3 right. His wife was a true helpmate in that regard, and their 3 boys were growing up into good, God-fearing citizens. Andy rose from his stool and stretched. He still had some ground to cover before he was done. As he lifted his lantern, he dimly saw something lying just inside the valley. Curiosity pulled him toward it, and he held the lantern high to see better. The first thing he saw were the boots. Then, as he moved the lantern, he saw the rest of the body, lying in a twisted, grotesque position. Andy gulped back the bitter gall that rose to his throat. He had seen some sights in his day, and even his share of corpses when he was in Her Majesty's Navy, but there was something about this corpse that sent a chill through him. One of the hands was stretched toward where he stood, and he saw it clearly. It was the hand of an old man, a man of immeasurable age. A ring curled loosely around a finger that was more bone than flesh, and that flesh of a sick grey pallor Andy had last seen when his own father died in his house 2 years before. The lantern dropped from his fingers, its iron frame protecting it from shattering, and Andy was in the nearest pub in an instant.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.